What about some of the other lenses that we haven't mentioned? More specifically, the 24-70 zoom. And do you guys want to cringe right now? I gotta go get this fixed. Oh, that don't sound good. That's gonna cost a pretty penny. Not sure what happened to it. Anyway, the 24-70 is a fantastic, very versatile lens, and it's a great journalistic lens for the wedding day. The thing is that I'm using this lens out of convenience. I'm using it, like say, at a ceremony where I have to stay at a somewhat close distance to where the ceremony action is happening because of maybe placement of the crowd or what's going on and so forth. This is a great lens to zoom in and out at those distances and be able to go wide as well as somewhat tight. But it doesn't have that look or that unique kind of quality to it, the sharpness, and actually it is a really sharp lens. It just doesn't have the same kind of prime look when you open up to a 1.4 or a 2.0 aperture. It doesn't have that unique quality of, the vignetting that you'd get from a natural wide open prime. And that's what makes me basically leave it in the bag when it comes to couples portraiture. I don't take this out on couples portraits during the wedding day. I don't take it out on couples portraits during an engagement shoot. The only exception to that is if, let's say I'm traveling to a location and I know I need some versatility and I don't have enough room in my bag to carry extra primes, I might use this in that case. But otherwise, if I have an option, I'm not shooting on this guy, especially since the zoom is all busted right now. Next, 100mm macro. Well, again, this is another great lens to have in the bag on a wedding day, and it'll do true portraits really well. It'll also get those close-up shots of the rings, it'll also do close-ups of eyelashes and all the details that you need. But when it comes to couples portraiture, I find that usually if I shoot on this lens, it's to get 1 or 2 shots, and then that's kind of it. So it's not one of those lenses I really default too much, and you can also keep in mind that if you have an 85 or a 90, as long as you're not shooting super close or super macro, you basically have the same look. You have the same compression, the same everything, but it even goes more wide open on an 85. So it doesn't give me enough versatility to take this onto a couple session. Again, this stays in my bag. Another favorite of people's is the 135 f2. So this is the 135 f2. Again, a fantastic lens, has a really great look, but not super versatile. The reason being is that the focal length can kind of make this lens a little bit too long for a lot of situations. Once again, a 135 f2 is going to look pretty similar in depth and compression to an 85 at 1.2. Yes, there are going to be some differences. Yes, the bokeh will look a little bit different, but that's very much a photographer thing, not a client thing. Clients are not going to be able to tell the difference between these two, and I'd rather opt for the 85 1.2 in my bag than have to carry another lens around, which, by the way, will cost you a pretty penny. But obviously not as costly as this mofo. This is the 200 f2 prime, which I had to borrow from Canon just down the street, just to show y'all. Now this is the 7200 f2.8, and you can see that it's not nearly as hefty. Even though this is a big lens and it's a heavy lens already, it doesn't even come close to this guy. Look at that front element. It's absolutely ginormous. It's gorgeous, it's pretty. There are some obvious reasons why this is just a great lens, but a little bit too much. One is it cost $5,000 to $6,000, so it's not very approachable for most photographers. Number two, its size and its weight is going to be very difficult to manage on a wedding day. That being said, does it do incredible compressed wide open aperture portraits? Absolutely. That's why people love it. But because of convenience factor, because of price, because of what it does, and yet it comes in such a kind of difficult to deal with form factor and value, we're not using this that much. So it's a great lens, and if you have it, by all means shoot with it. But again, it's not one of them that fit into our gear bag really at all. Fun to rent though and go play with. By all means, do that. So hopefully this helps you guys out, helps you guys to understand why we're really not shooting on the 24-70 on any of our zooms that much, with the exception of the 7200 every now and then. Hopefully it helps you to understand really why our focus is on the 24, 35, 50, the 85, and maybe a specialty prime like the 90mm tilt shift. That's it for this video. Let's go ahead and move on.